Hello, everybody. Welcome to February 2021. And as per usual, I am doing a crystal reading for the month. This is interesting. This is interesting because when I tuned into the energy of February, the word that came through was juicy. It's a juicy month. But the energy of this month feels very rich, very fertile, very full of possibility. And so it's interesting because when I tuned into the crystal consciousness, with the intention of guidance for this month, what could be of highest service for people. The three crystals that had messages and energy to impart were Carnelian, Shiva Lingam, and Petersite. And one could definitely say that these are very juicy, very fertile, very richly empowered crystal beings and crystal energies. So I'm going to tune into each one of them and channel some guidance that can be of service to us this month. So first we've got Carnelian, and Carnelian for me is to me always sort of the crystal embodiment of the Hawaiian goddess Pele, just full of fire and magic and passionate emotions, both the creator and also the destroyer, but the nurturer as well. And of course, we've got this fiery sort of red color with Carnelian, which very much resonates, one could say, with the lower chakras, but also with the voice, which is expression, which is creation, which is artistry. So as I tune into Carnelian and the Carnelian frequency, so the first thing that comes through is, I feel that energy really powerfully flow through my sacral chakra and really helps to ground, center, and empower me. But part of what it's also igniting is, feelings of sensuality and really reconnecting with our bodies this month, reconnecting with our senses. There's actually really interesting, there's this frequency of gratitude coming through in terms of, for those of us who, I guess certainly who are healthy, who are still doing our part to help support others, through this time, through this pandemic, really being grateful to our bodies as miraculous creations, and also really tuning into the senses, that level of sensuality in terms of touch, in terms of smell. How can we start to reconnect with the things that bring us joy, that bring us pleasure again? Kind of pulling yourself out of the Netflix haze or the binge, pulling yourself out of, that Groundhog Day, as in the movie, where every day just sort of feels the same. That's really just one experience. There's been myriad experiences for people throughout this past year. But as we come into this month, again, this feeling of fertility, of growth, of possibility. But in order for us to be able to plant and nurture growth within ourselves, within our lives, our community, our world, we first have to start with grounding, with the body, and also that which we truly love to nurture, and finding that sense of pleasure and possibility, and igniting those energies within ourselves again. So this is definitely, a month of creation. This is a month of manifestation. But for those of you who, have been suffering, have been sick, have been, overworked, lost, afraid, coming back down deep into the body. Why are we here? The purpose of living. And of course that depends on your philosophy, your belief, but the purpose of living is more than just getting through the day, more than escapism, more than maybe the patterns and cycles we've fallen into or have been forced into. Can we snatch a moment here, there, where we can drop deeper into ourselves, especially for those of us who are seeking to continue with the shift, with the turn, coming back into a place of positivity and fulfillment. So whether it's burning a nice candle, having an essential oil, diffuser in your car, these are really simplistic, basic things, but bringing in back the magic and power of the senses, finding ways to include sensuality, passion, joy, enjoyment, pleasure in ways that are tactile, that can be experienced by the senses, will help bring you back down into a grounded place of not just empowerment, but also possibility and potentiality in terms of what you're seeking to create, shift, change, or heal for yourself in this lifetime. And the really key thing that's coming through, just as I pull out of the Carnelian, is the gratitude. So not just enjoying these things, but feeling grateful for them. Enjoying the feel of a soft fabric, but also feeling grateful for that fabric. Just these little things. And again, especially for those of you who have been driven hard, burnt out, driven by fear and everything else, coming back into these moments is an energy lift. It's an energy shift that can really be of service to you at this time. So now coming into the Shiva Lingam, and Shiva Lingam is a very interesting crystal because Shiva Lingam is a crystal that many of us sense it contains both the sacred masculine and sacred feminine energies when we're talking, energetically, and helping to bring them into balance. Which, of course, too, when we pair the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine, we have the third, the child which is consciousness, which is light that is born. And Shiva Lingam is very interesting because it's got a high quartz content, so it really boosts your energy. It activates and strengthens intuition and psychic abilities. It's a crystal. One of the teachings I share about Shiva Lingam a lot is for people who struggle with following their intuition. It helps to ground the guidance of our intuition, of our psychic selves, etc., in the body, so that we're more able to filter out the noise that is making us question whether or not it's our intuition or, doubt or whatever else it might be. Filters out the noise and really helps us to feel secure and grounded in our conviction in terms of choosing to follow our intuition. And so as I'm tuning in with this crystal, and of course it's also a crystal of fertility and again, creation and destruction, that theme, what's coming through here, let me tune in. Okay, I'm just going to go with this and we'll see where it's going. So the creative power of destruction. And so what it's talking about, and it's being very specific here, not the kind of destruction that creates harm, but destroying or clearing through, releasing that which no longer serves in order to be able to create from a very new place. And that's interesting because yesterday, I led our live healing circle in Rise on February 2nd, which was, in bulk and the cross-quarter day. But with the work we're doing in Rise, it's very, very clean. It's tuning specifically into the energy frequencies and the consciousness, that comes through them while working with crystal energy and layouts. But there was this message about, stopping where you were on your path and completely letting go of old ideas of who you were, what you had to be, how you had to choose, etc., and embodying a new and higher aspect of yourself. Ooh, I just got chills. As you then continue along your path. And so that was something we experienced yesterday in our healing circle. And here I'm feeling something very similar in terms of, and again, it was the imagery that came through yesterday too, in terms of freeing yourself as the shackles. We've been through such a time of momentous change and challenge And as we're coming out of it, it begs the question, do you want to continue? You first of all, you can't continue the way you were before, because you've changed. You've been changed by the circumstances and experiences of your life. That's just part of the cycle and patterns. But at the same time, we seek to try and carry through the familiar, how we relate to ourselves, how do we relate to our reality. And so what the Shiva Lingam is saying is that, the destructive force is necessary in order to create the possibility for creation, to create that space, to create that opportunity. Because again, that's part of the cycle of pattern and pattern of life. There's destruction and then there's creation. And so here we're in this space where we're in this very juicy, fertile month, powerful manifestation, powerful spiritual and intuitive energies coming through. And the thing is, what it's really asking us to do is really drop down into that voice inside and get clear on, am I who I want to be? Am I living the life I wish to be? Or is this a point in time where I can start to break free of that and begin to embody what I truly envision or desire in my heart, desire in my soul? And again, this is unhooking from the mind, which of course keeps us in fear, keeps us in the analytical, can keep us in anxiety. There are also really good things about the mind. Try balancing your checkbook, or, working out a math equation or whatever else without your mind. The mind provides great service. But what the Shiva Lingam is asking us to do is to disconnect from that and start coming down into the soul, start really listening to the intuition. Take the risk in following your intuition. You can work with Shiva Lingam to help, as I said, filter and make that clearer. But think of what it is that you're ready to clear, what you're ready to let go, breaking off those shackles, freeing yourself from ideas of who you need to be, how you need to lead your life. As we've been reading stories about, businesses and individuals who had to pivot and they had to adapt, and they found new ways of doing business or providing service or helping people that just, jettisoned them into higher levels of success, prosperity, benefit for their community. It was like this total win because they were willing to let go of the old idea of what they were doing, who they were being, how they were doing it, just clear the slate and came back to that center point and allowed themselves to really listen to their truth. And they followed it and it worked. And so that's ultimately the summary. I'm getting massive chills here. That's the summary message from the Shiva Lingam. So it's interesting because now this brings us into Petersite. And Petersite is, I love Petersite, and I've had some mixed experiences with Petersite because Petersite is a storm stone. It really churns things up within, but it also activates higher levels of power and frequency within us, which is also, very equated with storm energy. And of course, we can think of storm energy very much, in this theme, again, of creation and destruction, because storms blow through and they can be destructive, they can be harmful, but at the same time, they're also, part of the mechanism in nature is also part of the clearing through. And I'm, and I'm reminded too of, how the energy is like after a thunderstorm, a lightning storm, where the atmosphere has become ionized, all those negative ions that help to purify, that help to clear, that also clear energy. And so, again, coming to this idea of really allowing let it come through. Allowing the shift to happen, allowing the change to happen. So going through these steps, of work, of recommendation, whatever modalities work best for you with the crystals, whatever else it might be, but really allowing the shift and change to happen. Yeah, really, truly, you can let it go. Yeah, really, truly, you can shift. Yeah, really, truly, you can move in a new direction, especially if that is what your soul is being called for you to do. Because and it will create inner conflict for some people, for many people, absolutely, that churning up of fears, of the shadow, of the psyche, of whatever, of that storm energy. But allowing that to be of service to you, taking that energy and shifting it and directing it in the way that you want to go, the way that you want to move forward. The other thing that I'm seeing is that a number of you, possibly a number of you watching, are going to experience certain levels of psychic activation, psychic phenomena, psychic shift this month. Some of you may have already, experienced that, where all of a sudden you had like a really far out experience that you hadn't had before, and it changed the way you relate to your reality. And this is another thing that's coming through. How we relate to our reality becomes very conditioned, it becomes very patterned. But if that starts to change, if we start to relate to things in new ways, that changes the pattern, that changes the cycle and possibility. So the psychic activation, the spiritual activation that many of you are going to be receiving this month, downloads, experiences, breakthroughs, whatever else it might be, is part and parcel of this shift, of letting go of the old way of being, the old way of who you were relating to, etc., and allowing these new things to come in, because this is just part of your soul evolution. And so there's something interesting too that also just came through, come back to me in terms of a message that the Petersite had, because of course I never move fast enough. Crystal consciousness is like the speed of light. No, it's gone. It's not coming back. So I guess it may come back in a minute, but I'm. Oh yes. So this month, especially this month, and especially as we move into Pisces, when the sun moves into the sign of Pisces later in the month, this is a really powerful time to start embracing your spiritual self, embracing your spiritual practice, exploring more of your spiritual self, your psychic self, working on activating these possibilities and these powers and abilities in you, because everyone has them. Everyone has them. Some more in certain areas than less, absolutely, because we're all wired differently, but everyone has psychic abilities. Everyone has spiritual abilities and potential. And we're invited this month to grow much more powerfully into those abilities that we have. So take courses, read books, work with your crystals, open up to mediumship if you're a channel, get into your healing work, whatever it might be, because this is part, again, of the shift, the pivot on your path, in the turning point that you've invited in for the universe, and that is now coming in for you in terms of you being able to embody a new you, leading a new or better life, and walking, staying powerfully on point in terms of your purpose and your path. So that was Petersite. And so I hope that this crystal reading for this month was of service for you. And just incidentally, just so you guys know, I do train people in doing these crystal readings. I have a certification course. You can go to my website and check it out, Pro Crystal Reader. It's a no BS solid training program that does also include psychic development activities each week, working with different crystals to activate the four clairs: clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience, and claircognizance, and to strengthen these abilities. So if you feel called to that work at all, definitely go to my website, check that out. And P.S., for those of you who have been waiting for it, my crystal mediumship program, certification program, is going to be opening up in March, later in March. It's going to be total kick a new work that I'm currently downloading and structuring into the program, and it's definitely for the new millennium. It's not stuff that's been done, at least not by me before. So that's really exciting too. So thank you so much for holding space for me. I hope that this has been of service to you. If you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do, because there's a lot more awesome crystal videos coming your way in the next while. So peace and blessings to you guys. Enjoy a magical and fertile and creative February.